All right, Sagittarius, this is your January 2021 Taroscope and Horoscope. I am Brian with Arrows of Love. Welcome back to my channel. First and foremost, if you like these videos, please click the like button and subscribe. It helps the channel and it's very much appreciated. We're going to start with the sun. The sun points to where your focus is going to be at. The sun is in Capricorn, and that is your second house. Capricorn is 2 signs past Sagittarius, and the second house is all about earned income from the company you work for or the business you own. It's about security, it's about comfort, it's about material possessions and resources. So that is going to be the highlight for you, Sagittarius, until January 19th, until the sun moves into Aquarius, your third house, which it will transit until February 18th. The third house is all about communication. It's about siblings and short distance travel and learning. So you might be having a lot of things on your mind. It's a very mental type of energy. It's very cerebral. Whereas the second house is much more earthbound, and it's looking for long-lasting, enduring, stabilizing resources. The dispositor for the month, however, is Mars. And in my previous videos, I talked a lot about Mars. Mars was in Aries for almost 6 months as it went through its retrograde cycle. And for you, Sagittarius, that was in your 5th house of romance, children, fun and games, sports, and investments. It's also karmic credit. So if you did some great things in a previous life, that's where you get the credit, in the 5th house. January 6th rolled around, so I'm doing this video on January 9th, and Mars was traveling through Aries, which it rules, and Mars is the god of war. It can be very aggressive, but it also represents action, your vitality. It's the get up and go. It's what gets you up in the morning. On the negative side, it can be very impulsive and very aggressive. On January 6th, Mars was traveling through the very last degree of Aries, and every last degree of every sign is called the anaretic degree. It is a special degree. It's the point of maturity, but it's very intense. So look at what we saw, what happened on January 6th in Washington. You saw warlike activity, rebellion, and you saw that aggressiveness come out. Mars is finally done transiting through Aries, and now it's in Taurus. Taurus is your 6th house, Sagittarius. It is 6 signs past Sag. The 6th house is all about work. It's about routine. It's about your health, and it's about service. So these are going to be the themes that you are going to be reviewing as far as action, taking action until March. Mars is going to be traveling through Aries through March. Mars is going to be making a series of very challenging squares, however, to the planets sitting in Aquarius, and that is your 3rd house of communication. So there's going to be some really intense communication coming through for you, Sag, over the next month. So it's really important for you to be getting enough exercise. Be sure you're doing some meditation, yoga. Be sure you're releasing mental energy and any mental tension, because the entire month is for lack of a better term, a crap show. And we're all going through this. It's not just you, but we have to get through it. There are some really good things happening that stabilize this, and I'm going to talk about that. Today, January 9th, this is when I'm doing this video. The moon is in your sign. That is your 1st house. The moon represents emotion. It represents the public tone. And it's making a harmonious trine over to the asteroid Chiron. And Chiron represents the wounded healer. This is a wound. This is healing energy, especially with Sag. So something emotional could come up that you might want to be healing. And Chiron is sitting in Aries in your 5th house of romance, fun and games, children, and investment. So there could be some really good healing energy on the romance front if you're looking for it today. And this involves you because the moon is in your 1st house. It's also, the moon is going to sextile, so that is an opportunity, over to Mercury, which is sitting in Aquarius, and that's your 3rd house of communication. So there could be some really pleasant communications coming through that has a healing quality to it. Venus, the goddess of love, is going just transiting through Capricorn. It just exited your sign. It's been in your sign for the last few weeks. It's making you more attractive. You could have more people paying attention to you. It naturally brings a glow to whatever sign it's transiting through. So now it's going to transit through Capricorn, your second house of earned income, possessions, resources, until February 1st. In order to fully harness the power of Venus, which is a benefic sign, it brings luck and beauty to whatever sign it's transiting through. Think about the themes of Capricorn. Capricorn is represented by the mountain goat. It's climbing the mountain of success, one step at a time, building solid foundations, being pragmatic, and it also represents, it's a loyal sign. So it wants to build sure-footed foundations so you can climb to the top, but it takes patience, it takes perseverance, and it takes some caution. So that also is true for love. So if you want to maximize the goddess, take your time during February and in January here, because that's how you utilize the powers of Venus. If you really want something to stay, if you're getting out on dating apps, if you're single, if you're looking, take your time. Don't rush into anything. January 13th, this is where we start getting into some really intense energy. Mars, which is traveling through Taurus, that is your sixth house of work, routine, health, and service, is going to make a challenging 90-degree aspect, that is a square, over to taskmaster Saturn. We've seen this energy before. These two have made these squares back in August and September. This time, though, they're doing it in different signs. They've all moved ahead. They've progressed into the next sign. So think about what was happening in August and September. Could have been a very tense month. That's when Mars was retrograding. But now it's moving forward, but they're going to meet up again. Mars in the sixth, health and service. Saturn in the third, communication. So there could be some really intense communication on January 13th. Mars is action, it's warlike, it can be aggressive. Saturn represents authority, represents karma. So be sure you're taking care of yourself this day. Don't engage in any fights. Take any aggressive energy down into some productive outlets, and be sure you're getting that exercise, because that sixth house is going to be activated all through March with Mars transiting through it, and it's going to be pointing to health matters. Things could come up unexpectedly during this day. And Saturn is the communication, it's in your communication house. So I wouldn't be surprised if you got some Scroogey type communication on the 13th. And again, this is power struggles. So watch what's happening in the national news. Saturn is in Aquarius, which represents the future. It represents ideals, technology and innovation, and Mars sitting in Taurus, it wants to move forward, but Mars in Taurus doesn't do so well. So it is a day of power struggles with authority. For you, though, Sag, this could come up on the work front, could come up on health, or anything involving service. Also happening on the 13th, and like I'm telling every other sign, it's just it's a hard month to get through. The moon is going to be passing over the sun. That's called a new moon. That starts the new lunar cycle. And it's going to be 1 degree away from Pluto. And Pluto has been in Capricorn in your second house, making over your income sector, deconstructing it for the last several years, since 2008. This new moon, right next to Pluto, Pluto is represented by death and rebirth. It's the underworld. Pluto is the god of the underworld. It represents transformation. It also represents magnetism and power. So there is some extremely powerful energy happening on the 13th. The two luminaries, the sun and the moon, conjoining right next to Pluto. This could point to the death of a solar type figure, a mentor. And this is happening in Capricorn, which represents government. So I'm just going to leave it there. You can interpret that as you will. But there's going to be some very intense things coming up today. Pluto also represents secrets, things unseen. So wouldn't be surprised if you heard some things come out of nowhere happening in that second house of income. But on the national scale, watch what's happening with our government. The good news is that also on the 13th, Venus, sitting in that second house of income, is going to be making a harmonious trine over to Uranus. And Uranus is sitting in your 6th house of work, routine, health, and service. So there could be some really positive things coming through with Venus, because Venus also represents money. Could see a raise, could potentially see things happen on the work front, or maybe you're changing things up. Maybe you get an offer from work. As far as love goes, because Venus also represents love, you might meet someone from foreign cultures or foreign lands, someone from far away. Maybe there's some long distance travel involved if you're seeing someone, or if you're in a partnership. Venus and Uranus, it's an amorphous love, but know that Uranus isn't very stable. It works through shock and awe, changes things up. So, if you meet someone this day, it could be a short-term romance. January 17th, this is an interesting day too. Now, Jupiter traveling through your 3rd house of communication, learning, siblings, short distance travel is going to be making a challenging square over to Uranus, which is sitting in that 6th house of work, routine, service, and health. The thing is with this particular square, it's a little bit different. Jupiter is a benefic planet. These are 2 outer planets, so these are things that are happening on a global level. So we might see some really amazing innovation, technology, and music come through sometime around the January 17th timeframe. If you want to utilize this has to do with ideas, thoughts, health, service for you, Sag. So there could be some really amazing opportunities here for you in any of those departments. The drama, however, continues on January 20th, and this is Inauguration Day. And now Mars, traveling through Taurus, is going to align or conjoin with Uranus and the Moon, which is the public tone and emotion, is very, very close to it. It's about 3 to 4 degrees away. This is explosive energy. This is a very tense day. And for you, Sag, this is happening in your 6th house of work, routine, health, and service. So again, you really want to take care of your health. Be sure you're wearing masks. Be sure you're sheltering in place. Make sure you're getting plenty of exercise. Make sure you're helping other people. You really need to be on the up and up because this is a day that is going to throw a lot of people off. And like I said, with Mars and Uranus is rebellion. Uranus is the change agent. It liberates. And with Mars, which is action, and the Moon, which is emotion, you can see how when you mix these 3 together, it creates some crazy dynamics. So don't do a whole lot on the 20th. Just stay at home if you can. And if you can take the day off, do so. But be sure you're getting plenty of exercise, Sag. Moving forward to January 23rd, now Mars, again, is going to be making a challenging square over to expansive benefic Jupiter. Whenever Mars squares Jupiter, and Jupiter sitting in your 3rd house of communication, learning, siblings, Mars still in that health sector, service, this can point to premature action and leaping before you think. So really take the energy down this day if you possibly can. Find productive outlets for any mental tension, excessive energy, because premature action here could have some dire consequences. The good news, however, again, is Venus sitting in Capricorn. And Capricorn's an earth sign. It's stabilizing. It doesn't move very fast. It's very cautious. And remember, Capricorn is ruled by Saturn. So Saturn represents discipline and responsibility and taking the high road. So if you're having a troubling month, and believe me, a lot of us are going to go through this. It's not just you, Sag. Take the high road, be responsible, have discipline, and persevere through it. But premature action on the 23rd, don't do it. The good news, like I was about to say before I went off on that tangent, was Venus is going to sextile. That's an opportunity. That's also very good, over to Neptune. And Neptune is sitting in Pisces. Neptune can be a very dreamy planet. It's creativity, it's imagination, but it's also nebulous, and it represents viruses and the pandemic. And that's sitting in your 4th house of home, family, and foundations. Venus sitting in the 2nd of money. So there is an opportunity here. It's great for romance if you're looking for it on the 23rd, but just remember there's something here with premature action that has to be cautioned on that 23rd. January 28th, this is another explosive day. Venus is going to, traveling through Capricorn, your second house, is going to now conjoin with Pluto. And Venus-Pluto can be extremely passionate, magnetic type energy. It can feel like, if you're single and you meet someone during this time, it can feel like you've known each other through the ages. And it could be what we call a past life partnership, where you have to deal with some karmic relationship that might come through here. For you, Sag, this is sitting in your second house of income. This could point to the ending of some type of relationship on work. Maybe you're looking for a different job. Like I said, there's good things happening on the job front potentially, but it might require a change. Something has to come to an end in order for there to be a rebirth or a transformation, so to speak. But as far as love goes, oh, wow. I mean, that's hot. But remember, when the fire runs too hot, it cannot be sustained. So again, this is kind of like that Venus-Uranus trine. It doesn't last very long. So even though it's in Capricorn, it's pointing to something unseen, something coming up from the underworld, magnetic power, but this energy typically doesn't last very long. Mars that day, again, traveling through your sixth house, work, routine, and health, is going to be making some squares over to the moon, sitting in Leo, your ninth house of ideals, personal beliefs, higher education, the higher mind, and it's going to be opposing Saturn. This is just another very tense day. And Saturn's sitting in that third house of communication. So again, watch your health, make sure you're taking care of yourself here. Your personal beliefs might be challenged on the 28th, especially with that Venus-Pluto aspect. It could point to potential endings too. If that wasn't enough, January 30th, now Mercury traveling through Aquarius in your third house of communication, and this is also the house that Mercury rules, by the way, is going to be retrograding. Whenever Mercury retrogrades, and it's about a 3-week period, it's a time for reassessment. It's a time to slow down. You really have to be watching your emails, watch what you say to people. Short distance travel, be sure you're taking your time. It's winter now, depending on where you're located. Just take your time if you're traveling. And learning and communication and technology might be a little bit off for about 3 weeks, and that is from January 30th through the 21st. It's a lot happening. There's good things though, right? Venus is doing a lot of nice things with Neptune and Uranus, so love can be found out there, but your focus for the most part, Sag, is going to be on work and routine. It's probably going to be on New Year's resolutions. Where do we go next? Sixth house, health, service, routine, and third house of communication. So you really have to watch how you communicate in January. All right, so that is what's happening in the sky. Let's take a look what's happening in love for you. Remember, Sag, these are general readings. The messages will not apply for all of you. So take what resonates with you and leave the rest. We're going to pull some Angels Oracle, and we're going to clarify with the Tarot. Be sure you check out your Ascendant, Moon, and Venus signs. Sometimes those will resonate more with you depending on what's happening in your natal chart. Give that a shuffle. I'm going to shuffle the Tarot quick here. And just because, the planets aren't in any love houses right now necessarily, Sag, doesn't mean love can't be found. Love can be found anywhere. It can surprise you. But with Venus sitting in the second, if you're focusing on yourself, your self-worth, doing some New Year's resolutions, you'd be surprised who you can attract in when you start working on yourself. So keep that in mind. I'm telling you that to all the signs, not just you, but being that your sixth house of work, routine, and health is being triggered, be sure you're really paying attention to all of that. All right, Sag, let's pull some cards and see what's happening with you. Wedding. The situation involves marriage. What's happening? What's happening with you, Sag? Very soon. Clearly decide what you want so it comes to you now. Wow. That's incredible. I'm just taking a look to see what's being triggered here. Well, let's find out. Let's pull some of the Tarot and see what's going on. The Hanged Man. Okay, well, that explains it. Some of you might be waiting for an offer. The Chariot. This is a new direction. And Justice. A lot of people are getting Justice. We'll talk more about that. Seven of Swords. Ten of Swords. Two of Pentacles. Okay, so you have some really amazing energy on one end, and then you have some more challenging energy on the other. So let's talk about this. So there's a situation that involves a wedding, higher commitment. Don't you can take this literally as a wedding, but you know, something about a marriage. It's a pairing, a partnership of some type, right? And the Hanged Man this is a spiritual card. It is representative of Jesus of Nazareth, but in the Tarot, it also is about suspension, and it's kind of a waiting game. So maybe something has been put on hold. This is a waiting card. And the very next card that you have here is the Chariot. And the Chariot is a new direction. This is a victory. It's a very good card, but it points to a new direction of some type, and it has to deal with balance, because Justice is all about balance. You'll notice the scales here. So Johnny Law is also a part of this. So, you know, legal contracts, anything like that could come up. Wedding is a contract, or marriage is a contract after all. So it's pointing, you know, something's waiting. You're going into a new direction, and there's something that needs to be rebalanced here, perhaps in a partnership. And it's asking you very soon to decide what it is you want, because there could be some potential deception here. It could point to other people not being totally honest with you, or in the reverse, you're not being honest with yourself. Be sure you're not lying to yourself about any situation here. Sag. If it's someone else, which it likely is, because you're watching this channel and you have intuition, notice the man is carrying away 5 swords and he left 2 on the ground. And this is what I love to tell people when I see this card. Whoever's lying to you, they're not very smart, because they're leaving breadcrumbs everywhere. You've already figured this out. So whatever it is, you need to clearly decide what it is you want, because it looks like there is some type of betrayal or loss involved. This is a dark card. The Ten of Swords is never a good card to see, and I don't like delivering bad news ever. But we all have to go through the cycles of the Tarot. We've all experienced this. So someone could have lied to you, and this could have really hurt. And now you're trying to decide what to do. This is the man juggling what it is to do next. And you'll notice the infinity symbol here. So it's connected with karma and with the juggle. Where do you go next? I think it's a new direction. I think it's a rebalancing of some type. This is a new direction. And this is the rebalancing and a love reading of a relationship of some type. Let's pull one last card to see what the outcome is. Okay, I like this. This is the Ace of Swords. This is the new cycle. So whenever I see an ace, you're starting something new. And swords energy represents mental thought. So, Sag, something needs to change up here in order for this relationship to work. Something, either a pattern of thought needs to go, any type of obsessiveness needs to go, but this is you starting that new cycle. And the wreath on top means it is a new victory. So if you do the balancing, if you confront, the liar, cheater, thief, and you deal with the betrayal, and you might be balancing right now, you're going to do it's the new cycle. Take the new cycle, go on the new journey, start the new journey. This is also intuition. This is also intuition, because this is a spiritual card. Someone's, you're waiting on someone to give you an answer. Realize there's an imbalance that needs to be corrected here. New mental energy is needed. the new thought pattern, the new idea. And it's going to come to you probably this month. Communication. It's all about communication for you, because all of those, the big planets, Jupiter, Saturn, Mercury, Venus is going to be in your third house of communication. So it's going to be a ton of communication coming back and forth. And it could be a little shocking in January, because we're all going to go through something. Start the new cycle. Think about what it is you really want and let go of what's not working for you, Sag. All right. If you enjoyed these readings, again, please click the like button and subscribe. I wish you the very best this month, Sagittarius. It's going to be a stressful month. Be sure you're getting plenty of exercise. Do some meditation and some yoga to release that mental tension. And be sure to watch your communication. People are going to be on fire all of January. So just take it down if you can. Use that stabilizing energy in Capricorn. All right, we'll talk to you next month, Sag.